Hi YouTube. Before I got into the credit card game, I always wondered if airline credit cards are worth it. And since I've mainly flown United Airlines and Delta Airlines since moving to the US, the other question to answer is, are their co-branded credit cards worth it? My name is Abhi. This is Credit Debit with Abhi, and like we do in all of our videos, without further ado, let's dive in. So in today's video, we'll take a look at the Delta Airlines Platinum card and see if it's worth it for you. In general, my recommendation is not to use an airline credit card for your daily spend unless you're working towards a welcome bonus. And the reason for that is most airline credit cards issue airline miles that lock you into that system. Alternatively, if I'm using Chase ecosystem, or I'm using Amex's ecosystem, or if I'm using Citi's ecosystem, I have the flexibility of the points that I accumulate in those ecosystems and transfer them out to either an airline partner or a hotel partner of my choice to get the best bang for my buck. And what does working towards a welcome bonus on the Delta Platinum card look like? You can get 85,000 miles for spending $4,000 in the first 6 months of card ownership. Now, Delta miles can be valued at anywhere between 1 cent per point to 1.5 cent per point. So that puts you at either $850 in value to about $1,275 in value. Let's also quickly talk about how I acquired my Delta Platinum card. When I started my credit card journey, the Delta Gold card was one of the first cards that I applied for. It might have been within the first 6 to 7 cards that I applied for. I got the bonus, used the card for about a year, and then downgraded it down to the $0 annual fee card. And that's because I realized that I was going to be flying United a lot more because of its connectivity to India and generally to Asia. And moreover, I started understanding the value of points that these credit card ecosystems can provide versus an airline credit card. Earlier this year, I got an upgrade offer from Delta. It was that I could get 15,000 miles if I spent $1,000 in the first 3 months of card ownership if I upgraded my $0 annual fee Delta card to a Platinum card. Now, I've said this previously on the channel that ideally you should apply for a new credit card because the bonuses are much more substantial. But in this case, I was in the process of a home mortgage application and there was no way I was going to put an inquiry on my credit report. And I mentioned this in one of my previous videos, which I'll link up here. I had the goal of doing a status match challenge from United, where I had Premium Platinum, to Delta, where I was going to get Platinum Medallion for 3 months. And to maintain status after the 3 months that they give you the Platinum Medallion for, you need to qualify for a certain amount of MQDs and MQMs. And my thought process was, if I get the credit card right at the top of the year, I can use the credit card to spend $25,000 on it and get the MQD waiver for the Medallion challenge. Having said all of that, I do want to admit that it was probably a mistake to upgrade the credit card instead of applying for a new one. I could have just waited till my mortgage application process was over and then applied for a new credit card and gotten all the miles. Because I realized very soon that putting $25,000 worth of spend on an airline credit card was not the best use of money. So that's one tip for all of you listening to this video. Do not get tempted into doing things that make no rational sense. Let's get into the benefits of the credit card. The card comes with a benefit which is called the Take 15 Off. When you're booking an award flight through Delta using miles, you can get 15% off the listed award price if you have a Delta Platinum card. This is also true, I believe, for the Delta Gold and the Delta Reserve card. Earlier this year, I was able to book a trip to Colorado using this offer. The listed price for a round trip to Colorado and back in the main cabin was, I think, 48,000 miles. And then when I took 15% off, that came down to about 40,000 miles. And even if we conservatively valued Delta miles at 1 cent per point, I saved $80 right there on a credit card where the annual fee is $250. The second benefit is a free check back, and that's for everyone on the same reservation if the primary card holder is also a part of the reservation. So if you're a family of 4 and you all have 1 check back each, for a round trip, that is $30 each way, so that's $60 round trip per person, and for a family of 4, that turns into $240. So if you're a family of 4 and you're considering getting this card and you take at least one Delta flight every single year, that's $240, and the annual fee of $250 of the card can almost be justified based on just this benefit. While the first 2 benefits were great, I think the third benefit is the flagship benefit of the credit card. When you have the Delta Platinum card, you also get a companion certificate for a round-trip domestic flight in the continental US. You still have to pay for taxes and fees, and that amount won't be more than $80. If you take one trip from New York to SF every year, that again in and of itself can more than make up for the annual fee on this credit card. Let's take an example here. So I took a look at a random date in November to fly from New York to SF and back in main cabin, and the retail price on that ticket is about $450. Now this obviously includes taxes and fees, but even if you remove the taxes and fees, the retail price on the ticket is far more than $250, which is the annual fee on the card. So as you can see, across the first three benefits, you can easily extract more than $250 of value from the credit card. Let me also talk about the Medallion benefits. Now, if you do not know what the Medallion system is, it's basically Delta's way of seeing if you're a frequent flyer. So they have metrics such as Medallion qualifying miles. So how many miles do you fly with Delta and its partner airlines? They have Medallion qualifying segments. So how many segments have you flown with Delta or its partner airlines? And then they also have Medallion qualifying dollars, which is how many dollars have you put into buying tickets through delta.com or through its partner airlines that can be marketed as Delta flights. So a different combination of these three metrics will tell Delta if you are a valuable customer. Now with that understanding out of the way, let's talk about two benefits that relate to the understanding of those metrics. Number one is the Medallion qualifying dollar waiver, which I talked about earlier in the video. So if you spend more than $25,000 on your Delta Platinum card, and if you hit Medallion qualifying miles or the Medallion qualifying segments for tiered status on Delta all the way up to Platinum, you don't have to necessarily hit the MQD requirements then. Now this is where the quandary for me comes in. If you're a frequent Delta flyer, you don't need to spend the $25,000 on this card to get to the waiver because you will fly enough where you'll hit MQDs for the status tier that you're working towards. In any case, the MQD waiver for the top tier status, which is Diamond, is $250,000. Now, I do not know who's spending that kind of money on a credit card, especially if it's not a business credit card. Now, if you do not fly Delta as often, why do you care about the MQD waiver in the first place? So it's difficult for me to fathom as to why someone would spend that kind of money on this credit card to get to the waiver, unless you're a Delta loyalist and nothing matters more than getting status with Delta. And even in that case, I think there are other ways to get to that status than spend $25,000 on this credit card. The other benefit here is the status boost. So for every $25,000 that you spend on this credit card, you get $10,000 MQM, so the Medallion qualifying miles, that can help boost your status again within the Delta system. Now, I personally wouldn't take that route, but if you're someone who might do it, let me know in the comments below. And then there are other standard benefits like the no foreign transaction fee, trip cancellation, trip interruption, and so on and so forth. You get 3x back for flights booked directly with Delta. You get 3x back for purchases made directly with the hotel. You get 2x back for dining worldwide and delivery and takeout in the US. And you get 2x back for US supermarkets. And then you get 1x back for everything else. Remember that the points that you accumulate are Delta miles. And these miles can only be used to book Delta or some partner flights. You cannot transfer these miles out to anything else. So let's talk about who's this card not for and who's this card for. So if you're someone who doesn't take a ton of trips, and when you do take the 1 or 2 trips during the course of the year, you're unsure if you're going to use Delta, then this card may not make sense because the annual fee on the card is pretty hefty, and the $250 cannot be justified if you never fly Delta over the course of the year. If you're someone who already has an established ecosystem that you really love and you value simplicity, adding the Delta Platinum card can add some complexity to that ecosystem, and so you might want to avoid it. Now let's move on to who this card is for. If you are someone who flies Delta once or twice a year with a large family and you do check-in bags on your way to a destination, well, this card is a no-brainer in that case because not only can you use your companion certificate for the round trip, which can easily be valued at $100 to $200, you'll also get the first check bag free for your entire family on the same ticket. So in those kind of circumstances, the card elevates itself. and you can easily justify the $250 you pay on the card. Also, if you're a frequent Delta flyer and you really care about Delta status and you want to use just one card and you care about the status the most, this might be the credit card you choose. And again, this might also be a card for people who want to extract value out of the credit cards, and if you foresee yourself flying Delta at least once and you love the concept of extracting as much value from credit cards as possible, you can easily do that with this credit card. Now, within the airline co-branded credit card setup, would I consider this a keeper card? Well, I said this in my United Quest card review that credit card was a great credit card in terms of value, but I found that the award miles that you get on that credit card are difficult to accrue. You have to call the credit card company a couple of times to get that credited to your account. But with the Amex Delta Platinum card, you can easily extract the value. Now, the big question is, amongst the co-branded airline cards, is the Delta Platinum card a keeper card? Well, from my perspective, yes, it is, because I do foresee myself using the companion certificate and at least extracting $250 in value. I've already used take 15% off award tickets, and I plan to use it in the future as well as I accumulate Amex points that I can transfer over to Delta, and then save 15% on the miles that I pay. So that's it for today's video. If this video was entertaining, smash that like button. If this is your second time watching a video, consider subscribing. And like always, I'll see you in the next one. Peace.